So now we're going to go into a little bit more complex circular moves, circular welds, and other straight welds, and now we're going to not just do it in one axis, we're going to do it in two axes. So I'm going to go back to this part here, just open up that path. I'm going to get my parts visible again. So I just want to be welding this path, and I want to weld it inside and outside. We'll just do the inside first. So here, I think this is the one that I like the most. So I'll just delete this one. Shift, delete, yes. And then here, shift, delete, yes. Okay. So this path here, I don't care so much how things are oriented right now. I can go through and change things at any point. So from here, since I didn't complete the weld in that first path that I created, I'll just do this whole thing over again, so you can see that again. So there's several different ways to do this. You can put the part in the orientation that you want to, or you can just go through and start creating the welds and then adjust the orientation later. So I'll go create weld instruction, and I'm going to make this a one linear segment, and I'm going to go from there to there at the base plate and hit OK. My torch angle, not exactly what I want, but that's okay, I can adjust it later. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through create. You have to be able to create any more additional welds at the end of this weld or in between points. You have to be selected on these points. So if I want to create one between these 2 points, I'd have to select on the first point, because you only create targets after the point you're selecting. So if I want to create welds continuing going up, I select this end point here, not this upper point because this is an air move. Here, if you look here and click, you'll have create weld, but not weld instruction is not highlighted or is grayed out. So I select down here, I can go create weld instruction. So that's what I'm going to do, create weld instruction, and I'm just going to go pin this up so it doesn't go away every time. You can make it circular segments or linear segments. The only difference is by selecting that checkbox there, it'll give you another click, so it'll tell you the circular point and where the weld is ending. So I'll go linear, and I'm just going to select, this is automatically going to default to snap edge. I'm going to change its default to snap object, and select right there. Actually, I'm going to go halfway between there. Well, I'll try this first and see if this works. Since it's pinned up, it stays there, so then I just go through and then click another one there. Okay, and then you can't zoom in on things. Okay, and there. So sometimes you can't zoom in on things. If it doesn't let you zoom in anymore, you can, I'll cancel that. You can right click here and then zoom in. Once you click on something, you'll be able to zoom again, or right click and hit examine, and it'll zoom and spin about that point or that area. So if you want to examine your torch, you can right click and hit examine or E, and now you're spinning around that torch or that nozzle. So now here's my points. I've got it there, and it goes up. So now my torch angle is wrong, and that last point is completely wrong. So I can go modify target and see those are the same, but that base plate is different. So I could change the base plate on this one, make it over there, and hit apply. So now all of these have the same, everything's set up right, but the torch angle is wrong. So here, that should have been, instead of 90, should have been -90. You can either drag it and move it around, or just type it in. I like typing it in. And then hit apply. And now to change all of these at the same time, you can go step by step and change all of them, or you can click the first point, shift, click to the last point, and then right click, modify, target offset angle on selection, and you can modify the offsets or the torch angles. And since the first point I have selected in this darker blue right here has the -90, that's the values that is going to populate into this right here. So if I selected this from here and went this way, modify target offset, this is a +90. And I can go through and change the values if I want to, doesn't really matter, but whatever's populated here is always going to be coming from the first point you have selected. Since I already know this is negative, I'm just going to put negative right there and hit OK. So now I can go through and select on these points, and now the angle is going the right way with the torch. But now what I need to do is I need to get the orientation so that I'm welding in the right direction, so that the whole thing is in the flat position. So I'm going to go Modify, Joint External Axis. And you can move these things around so they're side by side if you want to. Since I don't have that much room here, I'm just going to put these on top of each other. So here, I'm just going to start out with an orientation that I think is going to work. So this first path here, probably going to be something like a 45. Oops, I didn't connect my part to my positioner. So move that back to 0 and go to the Home tab, select those parts. I can Shift and select or Control and select and move them onto the positioner. Looks like some of them already moved there. Oops. That one looks like it's already moved there. That one's the only one that wasn't. Do you want to have the position? Yes. So there you go. And so now, Modify Joint External Axis, 45, looks good. I'll call it like that. Maybe I want this facing the robot so that I don't have to reach over top of that. So I'll go negative 45 and 180. And I just tabbed switch between these two. So that's what I'll start, and I can Shift and select the whole thing to get them all at about the same starting point. I can go each one, and I can go, well, there's two ways to do it. You can start off and go Present Apply, or you can Shift the whole thing, Modify Joint or External Axis values on selection, and as this before, the first point you have selected, those are the values that will be automatically populated here. And you can hit OK. There's also this relative tool that you can use when doing more complex stuff, such as when doing mirroring, but we'll get into that later. Okay, so now all of these external axis values start out with this. Might not be the most ideal for this situation, but that's where it's at. So this one right here. So now I can, between these 2 points, I can go through and try to guess what value is the right value to get this into flat, and then say, hey, you know what, that looks pretty good, I'm not 100% sure, and then go to this point here, and then just keep moving it. Oops, I'll jump to there, and then I can go through here and go present, and then start moving it a little bit more. This might have to move to 135, and this might move up to a 90. Negative 90. I'm not 100% sure. That doesn't quite look like it's going to be negative 90. So I can eyeball it and guess and say, okay, that looks pretty good. Jump to that point right there. Remove the points. So there might be some glitches in Robot Studio, depending on the version you have and how things are set up. It might not be able to move the points correctly. So so there, I moved to that point, but I'm not still 100% sure if I'm exactly in the flat position. So to check flat position, you can right click and go Show Item Info. And Show Item Info, this is one I usually like to keep separate, so I can see that as I'm modifying my joint external axis. So this is saying I'm 5 degrees out of flat. So I'll go to that point right there and see what that one looks like as well. So I'm 22 degrees out of the flat position. So I can adjust this and see what I do to get these things into the flat position. So this is the path angle, so that's pretty close to flat, but now my tool angle isn't quite straight up and down. So I can adjust this, maybe adjust and I can fine tune, move it a little bit more. Get it pretty close to 0. It doesn't need to be exact, close is good enough. So in this one right here, I can go present, apply, and we'll see that this one looks like. Now this path angle is what it's really looking at, so this actually might be the flat position for that path, but what it's looking at is between that point and going to that point, is this path flat? So that might not be the case for this one. So here, this point right here, I'm going to go present, and then I'm going to adjust this one's path to try to get it flat. And just keep hitting that, moving over. So there we go. It's pretty close. So that's actually probably going to be 135 is my guess. Yep, looks pretty good. And apply. And then here, I'm just going to go present, apply. So that is about how I would go through and do that. Now I might need to add more points in there to make sure